Are you ready to listen to my dad Joe and Uncle Justin talk about sports? Now on with the show.
The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop, which have been serving the greater West Lawn area delicious food for over 70 years. You are listening to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show.
Boring.
A weekly podcast about sports since 2011.
Don't you ever get tired of being wrong all the time?
With a focus on football.
36-yard line of Philly, shotgun snap to Hurts, dropping back, only one person rushing, Hurts looking, standing still, winding up, long pass that lands at the 20, no one is there, zeros on the clock, it's over, the Chiefs have won, Super Bowl 57 on a game-winning field goal, trailing at 10. At the halftime stop, 24-14, they go on to win 38-35. What a game.
Now, here are your hosts, Joe Mays and Justin Raffoff.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. I'm one of your hosts, Joe Mays, and sitting here with me, as always, is my co-host, Justin Raffoff.
Yeah, it's good to be here. It's hard to believe it's NFL draft time. That's crazy. It really kind of snuck up on me this year.
It did. I've been listening to Ross Tucker's rundown with Greg Cosell. They preview the position groups. And I remember when he started doing that or talking about it was back around the combine time, back in February, and it's like NFL draft's so far away. But I mean, really, at that time, it's 2 months, you know, and maybe even less. I think did the combine trickle into early March this year?
Yeah, it may have. I feel like there's a combination of factors for me, like in terms of just fandom, not just like general football fandom. Like my football team made a deep run, so like that kind of pushes things back, and then with the Phillies being successful last year, like being excited about spring training, and
Right.
that was a week after the Super Bowl, or the days after the Super Bowl, and then so you've had those things, and then there's March Madness, and then there's I know not necessarily for you, but like being excited about the Masters, and like there's been so many different things, like just leading up, and then
Right.
And honestly, again, not, but like, oh, it's NBA playoff time, and like there's been so many things to like keep me occupied with it. It's not that I don't care about the NFL draft. I do, and the Eagles have 2 first-round picks, and like there's all kinds of stuff like to be excited about. It's just, I think in general, the last couple months have gone rather quickly, and here we go. We find ourselves at the end of April.
Yeah.
And it's NFL draft time.
NFL draft used to be my marquee sporting event.
Yeah.
Just because generally my teams weren't playing for a championship, so I had to find something to be excited about. And what was
let's
better
win April, right?
than someone exactly. I mean, the Dolphins usually lost April too, but what's better than combining your top 2 favorite things in the world, the NFL and college football?
Right.
Like, it's happening at the same time. You're seeing it all come together.
There's so much hope.
Right.
There's so much hope.
From the mid-'90s, like, I literally remember watching the draft in '95 when Penn State had the trio coming out and taking in the top, what? Were they top 10, top 12? It was Kijana, Carey,
so here's the
Kyle.
thing. Like, I know, like, retroactively, but I didn't follow the draft closely for a long, long time. Like, I was significantly old. Like, I knew about the draft and things like that, but honestly, it wasn't until much later.
Watching it in 1995, and was my go-to thing through probably at least 2012. I got to go to Vegas for free.
Yeah, I remember that.
To cover the NFL draft for drafttech.com. I'd say it probably peaked around that point, like for the better part of what that.
It's hard to have it be bigger than that point.
Right, yeah. Other than getting paid full time to cover it. Like I was already at the peak. Like a little
Right.
side venture got me to go to Vegas.
Right.
To hang out with other people working on the site.
More than 99% of the people, that would be more than they could ever imagine getting for that.
So that was incredible. But that's probably around 2012, 2013, 2014. I was still working for the site. I stopped working for the site, and I think I want to say it was January 17. Like I didn't make it to the draft in 17. I made it all the way through the draft of 2016 and into the fall of 16 working on the 17 draft. But finally I said, I have 2 young kids,
Right. Well,
a family business.
And that's the thing, like, just a quick side note to the people who may not have seen that part. But, like, it's not like we're going to talk about the draft tonight. That it's different. Like, we would watch the draft together, and you knew stuff about, I'm saying 80 to 90% of the guys, especially, I'd say the first 5 rounds. Like, you knew all of those guys, and then you knew a bunch late too, like guys that I've never heard of. Like, so there's guys that I've watched play college football. There's guys who I know about because they played for big teams or they did certain things or they had this that stood out or whatever. There's other guys that I know because they've been rumored that the Eagles might be interested, and then there's the level that you had. Like, I'm telling you, for the people who wouldn't be there, like watching the draft with you those days, it was like sitting next to like my own Todd McShay or Mel Kiper. Cause like, you're just like rattling off like, yeah, in their 3rd high school game, they did this, and not exactly, but you know what I mean? Like you knew so many of those guys. It was insane, but that doesn't just happen. Like you had the time and the effort has to be put into that.
Pretty much working on it year round.
Right. Like you knew these guys all the time, like, because you had to build up to that. Like that was what it would build up to.
Right. And I mean, it was so much fun. It's just, I did it or I watched the event and knew about the event for fun from, 95 through 07, because I started working for Draft Tech in February 2008 while I was in Indiana, while Kelly was getting her master's degree at Purdue. I had been reading the site, and they had an open position, so I just applied, and I got the job. Just a little side gig, wasn't anything major, but I got to say I was getting paid to do something I loved, and I did that for almost 9 years.
Yeah.
I made it almost 9 years working for the site, got to go to Vegas, like I said. It was awesome, and I knew so much in that time. I knew all about it throughout college, so like it really was a huge thing for me. But then as soon as I got out, after that 2017 draft, which I had worked on up until basically the combine, by and large, when it came back around in 2018, I was like, I don't know as much, and now I'm so far behind. But we still are.
It's almost like
invested.
you have other things going on.
It's almost like there's other things happening, but we're still invested because we're still NFL fans, huge football fans, and we're college fans. We don't know as much, but we can talk about the Dolphins. We can talk about the Eagles. We can talk about the top picks.
Right. We can talk about the ones that matter and have interest to us the most, and that's our teams and other players of note.
And if you have questions about a team that isn't the Dolphins or the Eagles, we can try our best to answer them too. Or if you have just general NFL questions, this is going to be real loose, real fun, laid back. We're going to talk about Eagles, Dolphins, and kind of what's going to happen with the early picks, especially the quarterbacks, because that's the thing that everyone wants to talk about. And obviously we have opinions on those because we saw those guys play in college, especially C.J. Stroud, Bryce Young, and early Will Levis.
Yeah.
I don't have as much recent history on Anthony Richardson other than the highlights I've watched.
Right.
But
the highlights are high. Like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get into the 4 of them, but I guess let's start with the Eagles first.
Okay.
And why don't you hit us with what you think their top needs are?
Okay. It's tough because when you look at it, like they have a good core. They've got a lot of young guys. I love. This is not draft specific, but it's related to the draft. I love that they got the Hurts deal done because now it's a known, right? Like people, there's all this, well, it's only a 3-year deal. In reality, that's how the NFL works. Like, that's how lots of this works, right? But I'm always on edge a little bit because the draft part, I know I'm just coming off of the Hurts comment here, but like the draft part is where Howie can hit it sometimes and he can whiff big sometimes too. That being said, working the cap magic is where he's at his best, in my opinion. And honestly, even with the trades, but trades have gotten much bigger in the last 5 to 7 years in the NFL to begin with. There used to be the trade deadline in the NFL used to be a joke. Nothing happened, and like there weren't big trades. People traded draft picks a lot more. Now it seems like they swap picks, but like there's more players to team compensation and stuff happening as well. I would say they have a bunch of questions on defense. I know they brought back Bradbury and
Darius Slay.
Yeah, and Darius Slay. I'm happy about that. I didn't really think that could happen. I thought they would bring back Gardner Johnson. That got weird. But like, it's one of those where he went somewhere else on a 1-year deal. And then there's rumors going around, but that's all the stuff I saw, and that was like Philly, like slanted. So like, it's hard to say. There's lots of people saying, "Oh, he ended up taking less money than the Eagles would have given." Yeah, but it gets complicated in a hurry sometimes. But they definitely need help in the secondary, like depth in the secondary. Some guys that maybe could contribute sooner rather than later. One of the things I like is that I see a bunch of people talking about how there's a lot of cornerback depth in this draft. So maybe being able to get somebody, if the right guy falls, maybe get somebody at 10, but more likely maybe get somebody a little later that might be able to contribute soon. They could use some help at linebacker. I say that. I hope Nakobe Dean can step in there, but they lost a couple guys at linebacker, and the Eagles haven't taken a linebacker in the first round in like 40 some years. So I'm not banking on that. I expect them. It wouldn't surprise me if they go D-line and O-line, with a couple of those first picks. Just that's where they've been. I know O-line, they lost a couple guys that they just couldn't re-sign. And they've got a lot of the core guys back. However, having depth there has been key to the Eagles' success the last couple years. And so, like, I like that we brought Kelsey back, but like you need to make sure you have guys for him. And I know they think Juergens may be that guy, but then you need a guy to fill in at guard where Juergens is maybe expected to slot in. Like you can't have too many linemen. Like you can't. And the way the Eagles like to run the ball, that would be huge. That leads me to a lot of people. I'm seeing it everywhere. Have the Eagles. They think the Eagles are going to take Bijan Robinson at 10 if he's there. I don't know. I look at it a couple different ways. If the Eagles do take him at 10, and he ends up being what so many people think he is, and they can use their other draft capital to add in, and address some of those other needs onto an already solid team. Well, let me rephrase that. Onto an already good team. That could be really exciting. Like, however, taking a running back in the top 10 is risky because there's so many talented guys there that you could take. There's so many guys that could be future All-Pros, and if you take him and he's not, that's going to be a problem. You know what I mean? Like, if you take a running back there, he needs to be, well, okay, so you get 5 years, right? Because of the way the current contract situations are up. Those first-round guys, you have the right to the 5th year if you want it. I'd say you need, 3 Pro Bowls out of a running back if you take him in those first 5 years? Because after that, who knows what they're going to get.
Right.
that might sound ridiculous, like, oh, how do you know you're going to get 3? That's the problem. You don't know. And not saying you know it on the other guys, but they have other needs. But yeah, I honestly don't know what they're going to do. Like, taking a running back there seems so against what Howie would do. But when I ask myself, what would Howie do in the draft? Who knows? Like, if you look at, like, yes, he has a trend of doing or not doing certain things, but there's also been times where he's like, people are like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? So, yeah, I'll tell you one thing I did see. I know AJ Brown kind of like put it out there. I think it was AJ Brown about like maybe trying to trade for
Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry.
So there was a report yesterday that it had happened. Did you see that?
I did not. All I saw was that AJ Brown was kind of like, "Hey, no one wears 22 on this team," kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I mean, that'd be a crazy addition to that offense when you have to worry about 2 running threats and the throwing threat with that group of receivers led by
it'd be
AJ
amazing.
Brown.
But so here you go though, and I'll ask you. And I don't view this as a crazy question, so hopefully you don't either. But maybe I am crazy for thinking this. Right now, who would you rather have? Would you rather have Bijan Robinson or would you rather have Derrick Henry? Right now, at this point in their careers, contract situations, all of that stuff.
Probably Bijan Robinson, because I know people are like, he's not proven. Right, but Derrick Henry's proven, but he also hasn't been super durable. He didn't have an incredible year last year. He's on the downward trend of the life of a running back. Right. He's expensive, which is something the Eagles don't pay a premium at the position. You just left the guy you drafted and developed leave because you didn't want to pay him.
Right.
I understand Miles Sanders is not Derrick Henry, but it just doesn't make any sense. And Derrick Henry's due to make what, $10 million or more this season? That doesn't seem like something the Eagles would pay for.
Right, and you'd have to trade for him.
Right,
like
you have to give
it's
something
not just
up.
a free agent thing. A free agent thing that would make it a little more interesting. But I don't know. So I think defense and offensive line are our biggest things. Defensive line. Offensive line, linebacker. I think we could use help all over the defense. So, like, any defensive player, I'd like. Or let me rephrase that. Any defensive position, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense to me. Defensive line, we lost some guys. Some of those guys, they knew they weren't coming back, though. You know what I mean? So, like, it's not like there were a lot of surprises, but. Secondary is big because if you can't stop the pass, you're not going to win many football games. Now, you could also look at it as defensive line because if you don't have a defensive line, it doesn't matter how good your secondary is. Like linebackers are key because they need to be in today's NFL. They need to be the guys that can cover, but also not get blown up on the run. You know what I mean? So I think they could use guys at all those positions. I think they have some guys and some young guys who are ready to step up. AKA Nakobe Dean, let's see, So I feel like they could use some guys that could step in and play right away, and that's what you're looking for with a number 10 pick. Like number 10 pick, I want that guy to be starting come day one. That can be a little harder on the defensive side, depending on where they were. We'll see.
So I'm gonna shift gears here and do this a little bit differently. You and I are going to play GM for our teams.
Let's do it, yes.
I started a mock draft on the mock draft machine on Draft Network. The machine simulated. We're only picking for Eagles and Dolphins. You get the Eagles, I'll get Dolphins. Spoiler, it's going to take Miami a while to get around here. We don't have a first-round pick. But I'm gonna show you.
But you do have a memorable lunch with Tom Brady on a yacht.
I'm going to show you how this went this first time. We can go through this a few times just to see how things shake out. I do have it up on the screen if you're watching on a big enough screen to read that. But Bryce Young went first to the Panthers. C.J. Stroud went next to the Texans. Will Anderson, the rusher, went to the Cardinals. Anthony Richardson went fourth to the Colts. We've been hearing a lot of rumors that Will Levis now is the betting favorite to go number 2 overall. But here, Jalen Carter went 5th to the Seahawks. Another interior defensive lineman, Kalijah Cansey from Pitt, went to Detroit. Will Levis lands at 7 to the Raiders. Miles Murphy, the edge, went to the Falcons. And we get offensive lineman, offensive tackle Paris Johnson Jr. from Ohio State to the Bears, which leads to the Eagles pick at 10. Now, you just talked a bunch about Bijan Robinson. Is that a good value pick there for him? Debatable, possible, easily the best back in the draft, I think, in most people's eyes. I know some people are high on Jahmyr Gibbs, but Robinson is expected to go in the first, possibly earlier in the first. Gibbs could sneak into the end of the first, though I think it's more likely he's early second. But there's a bunch of good players left on the board, including the number 6 overall prospect, according to the Draft Network, and that is edge from Texas Tech, Tyree Wilson, which would be an interesting addition to the Eagles' defensive unit. Then also 2 of the best cornerbacks, Christian Gonzalez from Oregon and Devin Witherspoon from Illinois, before you look at offensive line prospects, Broderick Jones from Georgia and Peter Skoronski from Northwestern. Of course, the third cornerback listed here is Joey Porter Jr.
I see that.
But let's lean in towards more realism, because I don't think someone could surprise, but I don't think anyone is giving. Oh, did that just auto draft because I forgot the time? I think it just auto picked for you. I can start it over.
Well, who did it pick?
Let's see who it picked. Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback.
Okay, that's probably what I was going to do. So that
you're going to pick a cornerback.
Yes,
I forgot that it was
cornerback.
timing
Yes.
us. So,
which that's kind of my thing. I don't know that they'll do that. I think having signed 2 cornerbacks in free agency, I don't.
So this
I don't
one
necessarily see that happening.
Christian Gonzalez for the Eagles at 10. Tyree Wilson went to the Texans at 12. Brian Bresee went to the Patriots at 14.
So that's an interesting one there, because I've seen his, like, there's been some guys talking about him lately about how he might be a little undervalued in this draft.
Who's that, Bresee?
Yeah, Bresee. And you think about, like, just what he had to go through in college with his, like, family situation and his sister's illness and all that stuff.
He tore at least one ACL.
Right, and to overcome that and still produce at a high level, and arguably be the best player on those Clemson teams,
Penn State was a finalist to land him.
Yeah, I know that one hurts.
So a couple picks here, though, that just kind of make sense. Skoronski to the Steelers. I feel like that's a very reasonable expectation.
Although no Joey Porter Jr. to the Steelers.
No,
right.
Michael Mayer to the Lions after trading Hawkinson last year. That's a huge get for them. Robinson went to the Chargers in this mock. So, I mean, we know Austin Eckler wants out because they don't want to pay him. So that would be an interesting addition to Herbert out there if they do get rid of Eckler. Maybe if they would take Robinson, maybe the Eagles could listen to Eckler. See, I'd be more interested in getting Eckler, but it depends on the amount of money he wants.
I know, yeah.
So I don't know if that would work out. Anyways, Joey Porter Jr. went to the Ravens.
Okay.
That hurts. I don't
no,
like that.
I love that.
No,
That's awesome. I like that.
Nope.
I like that. I can't wait to see Joey Porter Sr. wearing a Ravens jersey, like in the stands at M&T
that is an
Bank
interesting
Stadium.
angle. Yes, that's an interesting angle. So actually, Justin, you're back on the clock though.
Okay.
With the 31st overall pick. Well, if you count the Dolphins.
Yes.
Forfeited pick. So where are we at here? So I gotta pull up. All right. So Smith and Jigba is the highest rated player available.
Yeah, that would be a tough. He's a great player. That would be a tough sell. Like, imagine if they did draft him though. Like, you add him to that wide receiving core.
You already took a cornerback, so Julius Brent's probably not an option. Nolan Smith from Georgia. Addison and Zay Flowers again. Jahmyr Gibbs is there and available. A couple more cornerbacks.
Take Nolan Smith.
All right. Taking Nolan Smith. All right, so we jumped all the way to my Dolphins pick, which is all the way at 52. So looking at the way things broke down, Zay Flowers is available, but I don't know that they're interested in adding another speedy wide receiver. Man, I would. Drew Sanders would be a nice get for the linebacker position. A couple cornerbacks. I don't think wide receiver. Another linebacker, Trenton Simpson from Clemson. Man,
What do you feel like is the biggest need for your
offensive
team?
line,
I wholeheartedly agree.
right? But honestly, man, there's not. Let me see. So, Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin is the top-rated interior offensive lineman available. Offensive tackle-wise, no, I mean, there's no one available. According to the Draft Network Big Board, there's no one really available at offensive tackle for the Dolphins. Joe Tippmann from Wisconsin will be the best bet. Still a bit of a reach there. When you're talking best available, this is not sorting properly. This is making this kind of difficult. Lots of cornerbacks. That's what that's all it's showing me right there. This is not working as well because the site's kind of malfunctioning. I want an offensive lineman for the Dolphins, but I just don't think, based on what's available, that's the direction I can go.
Right. It may be their biggest need, but it's not worth a stretch because then you're not getting the value there anyway.
Right. Keon White from Georgia Tech's an edge that I'd be interested in. Yeah, that's really tough. Honestly, I really like Drew Sanders, and he gives us pretty good value based on his rank. I feel like him or Trenton Simpson or even Jack Campbell. I like all three of them, but Drew Sanders is the higher rated guy on this board, and he's the guy that I really like. Yeah. He left Alabama because he was behind people like Will Anderson, right, and they converted him to a stack linebacker, and he blew up. He had an incredible year this year. I remember reading about him transferring. Like, people are like, why would you transfer from Alabama to go to Arkansas? Oh. Well, for exact reasons that Drew Sanders showed. Right. He had an incredible year at Arkansas this year. So I'm going to take him for Miami. I know maybe people won't like that, but oops. Oh, I just drafted Jack Campbell for you by accident.
Okay.
So, but I don't think you'd be disappointed in the Eagles actually taking a linebacker in the draft.
No, that would be fine.
That would be fine. So the Dolphins are back up again. I'm going to go check out offensive line because they're going to need one at some point. So we're at the 85th overall pick. Offensive lineman, interior-wise, not a lot of value. Offensive tackles, even worse value. See, this is what I'm afraid of. I feel like they're not in a good position to get offensive linemen, and that is unfortunately what they really need. But there should be some value elsewhere, possibly at safety. You know what? I wonder where Tig went. I wonder who drafted Brown.
J.R. Brown.
Yeah. So, but Miami's biggest needs are definitely along the offensive line. I just don't know that they're going to be able to find enough value here. Looking at edge rushers now for the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Man. Just it's not a lot of great value in the needs, especially the offensive line. I keep coming back to it, but it's not getting any better. And I don't see them taking a quarterback early. I would love for them to maybe take a running back, but they re-signed a bunch of guys. It just makes me think that they're not going to be in the market for it. So now I'm looking more defensive back. I know they just got Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. Maybe he'll have a rebound year, but I feel like you can never have too many
not in today's
defensive backs. So I'm trying to narrow it down. I got to do this quickly because my clock is running out. I think I'm going to go Sidney Brown, the safety from Illinois.
That works.
All right, so you're up now with the Eagles, and let me pull up what you got so far for the Eagles. So you got Christian Gonzalez, Nolan Smith, and Jack Campbell. So 3 defensive picks so far,
and one at every level, which is what I kind of said they need.
Yeah. So you got the edge rush, or you got the cornerback first, the edge rusher next, and then the stack linebacker third.
I would probably say who is the highest available lineman, offensive lineman.
So interior, so we're at pick 95. Top rated interior offensive lineman there is 119, Henry Banvialu from Washington, and offensive tackle down at 182, Jordan McFadden from Clemson. So you have to reach for offensive linemen. Is essentially what's happening here, which is why the Dolphins don't have any yet, because I refuse to reach that far.
Right.
But
who's the best overall?
are all prospects?
Yeah.
That's not right. I'm not. This might not be updating properly. Yeah, it says 182. I highly doubt that because we're only on pick 95. So, cornerback 68, edge rusher 71.
Go with the edge rusher.
Another edge rusher.
Yep.
Byron Young from Tennessee.
Let's do it.
All right, so we only did I only had the first 3 rounds in there. So you can see the Eagles have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds
All
right
on
now.
defense.
Right now,
However,
at 10, 31, 63, and 95.
Just as a reminder, and this can go to Gannon as well, your defense didn't get a stop in the second half of the Super Bowl. So adding some pieces there is addressing the needs. Like they it's not that they were bad. It was Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like it happens. But like you needed a stop. A stop wins you the Super Bowl, and they just didn't get one. You know what I mean? So drafting guys there, I feel like adds some guys who hopefully can contribute quickly, and also some guys that can add some depth.
Yeah, for sure. I'm running through the teams here to see where any of our Penn Staters went. See if they. Well, we know.
Joey Porter Jr. went to the
Ravens. So look at the Lions draft: Kalijah Cansey, Michael Mayer, and Hendon Hooker.
Yeah. Lions getting Hendon Hooker would be really. I think that's an interesting one, no matter where he goes.
Yeah.
Because through the first 2 months of the season, he looked like the best quarter. He was the most spectacular or most outstanding player.
Right.
Like, does that make sense? Like, he was on fire, and then he got hurt, and the wheels fell off for Tennessee. Well, the wheels kind of fell off when they got smoked by Georgia, but
I hate this Patriots draft because I like it so much. Brian Bresee, Jordan Addison, Tyler Steen.
yeah,
Don't want that. No, I don't want that. Don't want to like the Patriots draft ever. I'm not seeing any other. You drafted the Eagles, so yeah, I'm not seeing any other Penn Staters in the first 3 rounds. Smith and Jigba went 38th.
Do you think that's because he was hurt most of the year?
Maybe.
Because he was really good.
All right. Well,
It's crazy because Smith and Jigba was insanely good. But he's not even the best quarterback or best wide receiver on his college team because that guy's just not draft eligible yet.
Not available. Yeah, not available. Interesting. So, all right. So the Draft Network's top 10 overall, it was Will Anderson, Bijan Robinson, Jalen Carter, Bryce Young, Christian Gonzalez, Jahmyr Gibbs, Miles Murphy, Devin Witherspoon, C.J. Stroud, and Broderick Jones. Very interesting that they have 2 running backs in the top 6.
Yeah, and it's not that they can't be really good. It's just what value do they bring when you can seemingly get anybody? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's tough.
So it's tough. It's tough to have this discussion about the Dolphins because they don't have a first-round pick, so that makes it boring. They gave that up. They were told they could not make that pick as a result of the tampering, I guess is what it was called, with Tom Brady and was it just Brady, or did they loop in the Sean Payton stuff too? I can't remember.
I feel like it was the Brady stuff, but they were kind of.
There's a lot going on when that all came out.
Yes.
So the draft starts Thursday night at 8 on, I believe it's probably simulcast again. Is it on ABC, ESPN, and NFL Network?
I'd be surprised if it's not.
So, I mean, the draft has been getting huge numbers, and it's been great.
It's in Kansas City.
It is in Kansas City. So we saw 6 years ago it start in Philly,
which was
ended
awesome.
with a Super Bowl. Then, 9 months later, 10 months later. Now we have it following a Super Bowl winner. Hopefully it gets somewhere close by again. It's always something that I've wanted to go to, is see the draft in person. I've been saying that for decades now, and it's just blown up in size. So hopefully one of these days. But I think, let's see if let's talk a little bit of Penn State players here. Just to finalize the Eagles-Dolphins stuff. Eagles needs mostly defensive because of the players they lost. You could find guys at all three levels: edge rushers, linebackers, defensive backs. Would take offensive lineman help just because Kelsey's eventually going to retire.
Right. And Lane Johnson before last year said maybe a year or two. You never know. And I get that's a hard decision, but Lane Johnson is very open about the mental health side of things, and good for him. But you also just the reality of that, when he's ready to hang it up, he may just hang it up. You know what I mean? And just be like, you know what, I'm done. I've done what I need to do here. I'm gonna just move on with my life. Mm-hmm. And credit to him. Personally, I'm not ready to see that yet, and he's done so well. You know what I mean? Hasn't allowed a sack in over a year and a half or something crazy. So if they can keep going, you love to see it. But yeah, at some point those guys are probably gonna move on, and you have to have guys ready. You can't wait till then to deal with that. Does that make sense? You want to deal with that before.
So what I always heard, and what I try to base some of what I did for Draft Tech on, was everyone has an idea of these are the needs of the team. But the thing is, front offices are working to fill next year's needs. Yeah. Because you don't want to plug and play a rookie. Can you? Sure. Right. Our team's doing that? Yes.
Right. And if it's a first round guy, some of them, okay, it depends on the position too. But some of those guys, yeah, they're ready. And that's what I'm saying. Those top 10 guys, I want those guys to be able to contribute. And I say start. If they're not starting, okay, but they should be getting some snaps, right? They should be getting some snaps. That also depends on the situation. So, I had the Eagles take a cornerback at 10. Well, I also don't want that guy necessarily beating out their top two corners.
Right.
You know what I mean? But there are a lot of sets in the NFL where you have more than two corners on the field at a time.
Oh, absolutely.
Probably the majority of them anymore.
I'd say you have a minimum 3 on the field at almost all times.
Right. So, imagine taking arguably the top overall defensive back and adding that to 2 guys who are established solid to above solid NFL guys right now in the NFL,
who helped you get to a Super Bowl
last
year.
That should be really good, right? I look at that, I'm that would be great. And if you're drafting that guy at number 10 and not expecting him to be your number 1 or even your number 2 corner, but your number 3 corner next to veteran guys, what more could you ask for? You know what I mean?
Right.
That should be a great situation for a young guy to come into. I don't know. It doesn't always work that way, but that should be, and that addresses a need moving forward for the Eagles as well. Because now you've got your 3rd guy, but you also have hopefully your new number 1 in the next year or so. You know what I mean? maybe if you get a linebacker, maybe that's a guy that's going to pair with Nakobe Dean next year. You know, like you you're addressing problems this year, but you hope to add depth this year, and you're adding your guys that are going to be your go-to guys later on.
So I pulled up the Penn State draft people, prospects. There's 8 of them I think listed here.
Right.
Surprisingly, they have Jair Brown rated 239th on their big board.
So I think he's going to be a steal for someone.
Well, just like Brisker
later.
Last year. Like I know he
Brisker,
went earlier, but I
also,
thought he had a great year for Chicago.
Yeah. And did you see the thing? I think it was Mina Kimes who was talking about Adrian Amos, how he's like had such an underrated career and how good he has been for the teams he has been on. And I think Jair Brown, I mean, it would be great if he has a career like Adrian Amos. But yes, like Brisker, could go somewhere and contribute and be really good. I think, yeah.
Joey Porter Jr. should be a first-round pick. I'd expect him to go in the top 25, possibly top 20. They have him ranked 15th overall. Then they don't have another Nittany Lion draft-eligible prospect until Parker Washington at 173, and of course he finished the year injured for Penn State before moving on. Brenton Strange right behind him at 180
think Brenton
overall.
Strange could be that next guy off the board. I think he's likely to be that second guy off the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Parker fell a bit and actually could be behind Jair Brown.
I agree.
I don't think we'll see Clifford or Tinsley drafted.
I don't think Clifford gets drafted. I think he gets an invite to a camp.
I think they get invites, sure. Yeah. I would like to see at least 5 of these 8 get drafted.
Right.
I do believe the top 5 they have listed here will.
Yeah,
I think
agree.
Scruggs is the swing guy.
Right.
But I think there's a good chance that he could get his name called. But I think Penn State gets at least 5. 6 would be great. Porter, I believe, gets in the first round, but I'm not sure we're hearing.
And will that be the first Penn State defensive back taken in the first round?
Yes, it will.
Yeah.
So it could be. And Kalen King's poised to make it 2 in a row, possibly next year.
Yes.
So
let's hope.
Yeah.
Penn State could have a few guys go in the first round next year.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It could be
Olu could be top 10.
Yeah.
Like
could even top 5. I mean, people are really high on him. So hey, okay.
Right. I hope the debate is over if there's a number 1 team that has their quarterback and needs to trade out, for somebody who's going up to get him, that kind of thing.
So those are the Penn Staters. My dad, 2 things. First, my dad made a joke, no college football game tonight. And he knows I broke my thumb.
Not playing college football.
Okay. I was so mad.
Oh, my gosh.
I broke my thumb playing softball for the church team, one of the church teams. We were scrimmaging each other, getting ready for the season to start. And I took a line drive to the hand from our guest a few weeks ago, Andy Hofford. Yes, broke my thumb. It's fine. It just, I can't throw the ball, swing the bat, or play video games because my thumb is broken and I have no way of moving the joystick. So we're going to have to put the season on hold, unfortunately, because I was hoping to get through the end of our season and the conference championship game to set up, hopefully, a national championship game, win our first national championship. That's on hold. So that sucked because I was really looking forward to finishing that. Then my dad came back with a question. He wants to know about Dallas. So what's going on with Dallas? So
all I can say is that I hope Jerry's running the draft and not his son.
Well, it hasn't worked well for any of them recently.
And that's okay. I hope they can keep that up.
So let's see if I can pull up.
I can picture the
Cowboys.
emojis. I can picture the emojis that are going to come from this.
So let's take a look at the Dallas Cowboys draft needs. I feel like every team, both offensive and defensive line are listed for Dallas.
Well, you need them all.
As well as running back after jettisoning Zeke Elliott and Tony Pollard coming off of surgery.
Right.
They've got a need at running back. I know people are like, if Bijan Robinson drops, could Jerry take him?
He would 100% take him.
Yeah, being from playing at Texas to playing for the Dallas Cowboys.
Although Jerry's an Oklahoma guy, but
well, he's in Arkansas.
Yes.
He's an
Yes.
Arkansas guy.
He's an Arkansas guy. He's had Oklahoma connections there. That's where I got confused. Yeah, he's an
But
Arkansas
I
guy.
think he's also a businessman, and having the Texas running back playing for the
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys will
Yeah.
probably work out in his favor.
No, if Bijan Robinson is there when the Cowboys take him,
They pick at 20. Is that
they
is that
take
right?
him.
Is that when
Bijan Robinson isn't going to be there at 20. I'd be shocked if he's there at 20.
Then receiver, tight end, pass rush edge, and safety are listed as next. They could also look at cornerback. So, I mean, we can quick one last thing before we finish up here.
Well,
we can
we can
do
mock
a-
draft for them.
We can do a mock. We'll just quick.
Right.
look,
So the
we'll
only
run
thing
through
is,
this.
can you sort by the players by their projected value, but like reverse order, so we can just pick the worst possible players? Can we pick 3 punchers?
So I'm gonna throw all of us in here, and see if this will work a little bit better for us this time. So, let's run this through. So Eagles, you're up. Somehow Will Anderson
Take him
is still available
immediately. Take him. Yes, this is the one. I want
is
this
the
one to happen.
So Dallas is up next at. Do they pick that late? 27. Is that right? I thought they picked earlier than that.
They're pretty good. Just not
Bijan
good
Robinson, he's there. I got to take him, right? So Eagles, you're up
Yes.
again at 31.
enough. Joey Porter Jr.
Wow, this is setting up nicely for you. Where do I go with the Dolphins? So I'm at 52. I don't want to start sorting by position. That's
Oh my
when
gosh,
I got
I
myself in
can't
trouble.
tell you how excited I would be if those were the first 2 Eagles draft picks at 10 and 30 or at 10 and 30.
Yeah, you would be going nuts.
Yes.
Oh man, this is not setting up real great. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to take Darnell Washington, the tight end from Georgia, just because the Dolphins lost Gesicki and also jettisoned.
Where'd Gesicki go again?
Shut up.
So add that to that mock that they had the last time. That just Patriots piling on the hurt for you
Yeah, really.
with our boy McSorley there too.
My dad wants to say that we both have said the Cowboys haven't drafted great recently. He said, "What about Micah Parsons?" I feel like wasn't a hard pick to
No,
hand in.
Mike, and that's a great pick.
So who do
That's
I
a great
pick for
pick.
Dallas here? Do I give them a cornerback? Do I give them a tight end?
No,
Safety?
don't take a tight end. Who's highest available? Is that
Keely Ringo, the cornerback from Georgia, who's a fringe first-round pick.
Yeah, I'd give him them.
All right. So I think you're up next. Yeah, you're up. So Deontay Banks is available, the best player available, the Maryland cornerback. So you got Will Anderson and Joey Porter Jr. You probably don't want another cornerback.
No.
So Jordan Battle, Jack Campbell, Cedric Tillman, quarterback factory, Hendon Hooker is available.
Where's this pick?
This is pick 63 near the end of the second round.
Yeah, they're not taking Hendon Hooker there. Although,
Rewind 3 years. Yeah, they're not taking Jalen Hurts there.
gosh.
I mean, I don't think you double down on cornerbacks. I mean, you could, but
Right.
Luke Musgrave, if you need someone to go with Dallas Goddard, or do you think Goddard could be?
No, I'd take Musgrave.
All right, then I'm up next. Oh, Jack Campbell's there. So Sidney Brown, I took him last time, though. Noah Sewell, I like him too. That's
Yeah,
Penny's
Noah Sewell's
younger
a
brother.
really good one.
Couple edge guys. I mean, I want linemen, but there are just none available. I think I'm going Jack Campbell. Went to the Eagles last time. All right, so now the Cowboys are up.
Hendon Hooker.
Why are they not? Oh, here they are. Why is this not in alphabetical order? So we want Bijan Robinson, running back, Keely Ringo, cornerback. Who do they go next?
Who's the top wide receiver?
Trey Tucker down at 100. Oh, I mean, that's Keyshawn Bout, wide receiver from LSU, is also there. Honestly, I feel like they go linebacker here because I feel like the value
Yeah.
is there.
Yep.
So I think just because I don't want him to go any farther, I'm going to take Noah Sewell there.
Well, and that's a name, and I feel like the Cowboys are good at drafting guys who we know of.
All
You
right,
know what I mean?
Eagles, you're up again. Hendon Hooker is the top available. You didn't take a linebacker last time. Henley, Tutu, and Overshown are available. Those are the top 3 linebackers. Jamie Robinson from Florida State's the top safety. There's a couple other safeties available. Their top wide receiver is Kayshawn from LSU. Byron Young, the interior defensive lineman from Alabama, is the best lineman available.
Take him.
All right. So Eagles taking Byron Young. Cowboys are up again. Here we go with Dallas, who went running back, cornerback, linebacker before. So I'm thinking...
Yeah,
I
would take the top safety.
I was going to take a safety, but I know
Yeah.
they do need wide receiver help. But I think
but
safety is the way to go.
yeah, the
So
value here.
do
at
I go
safety is
with a
lot
team
higher.
I hate or a team I hate?
Either one is perfect for Dallas. Go with Pitt because I think there's a better chance that guy's not going to be good.
Okay. So we'll take Brandon Hill, the safety
to be
from
clear,
Pittsburgh.
To be clear, that is not a statement against Brandon Hill as much as it is the team he played for.
Right. So now Dallas is up
Just
here.
like when he goes to the Cowboys, like I don't wish him personal failure,
Elijah
except
Higgins
that I
is
do.
going to be the pick.
right? Like because I don't want him to be good for the Cowboys.
So let's check out the results there. We went through 5 rounds that time just so we could make sure that we got enough in. So the first round, Will Anderson to the Eagles at 10.
I would sign up for this first round all day, every day.
Bijan Robinson to the Cowboys at 27.
If Bijan Robinson to the Cowboys means the Eagles get Will Anderson Jr.
You're good
and
with
Joey
that?
Porter Jr., yes. That's the trade I'm willing to make.
So I went with Darnell Washington to the Dolphins at 52. Again, I want offensive line there. Just not great value available. But Darnell Washington is a huge body. He's kind of like another offensive tackle running down the field. So I'm okay with that. Dallas went Ringo. Eagles go Musgrave, tight end from Oregon State. Dolphins go Jack Campbell, linebacker, Iowa. Cowboys, Noah Sewell, linebacker, Oregon. Eagles, Byron Young, defensive lineman from Alabama. And the Cowboys,
I thought we were drafting Bryce Young.
the Cowboys round us out with the safety from Pittsburgh, Brandon Hill, and the wide receiver from Stanford, Elijah Higgins. I do want to go back and look at the first round and why Will Anderson dropped. So the Panthers went Bryce Young. Texans go Stroud. Oh, Cardinals went Miles Murphy over Will Anderson.
It's a very Cardinals thing to do.
That's interesting. I feel like that's a very Raiders thing to do. The Colts went Richardson. The Seahawks go Carter. Lions go Tyree Wilson. Raiders go Levis. Falcons go Gonzalez. That's where we saw the Eagles in our first go round. The
And
Bears go with Bresee.
So there's some people that think Bresee could jump up.
That left Willing. Man.
But sorry. The ones I were seeing, they think Bresee could go over Jalen Carter. Like not, it wasn't over Will Anderson.
Yeah, that's crazy. Here, Smith and Jigba goes
I'd be really
14.
happy if Bresee fell to 10 too. Like I'd be happy with him.
Well, he
there.
did the first time.
I know, but
just the volatility of this. Smith and Jigba went in the mid 30s last time.
Yes.
He went 14 here.
right, and to the Patriots.
Yeah, great. Trying to see if anything else jumps out here as being crazy. I once again hate the Bills draft because I like it so much.
Zay
Flowers and
Yeah.
they also got, I don't know if that was this draft or the last one we did. Let me see. No, it must have been the last one. They just had a really good draft the last time around. I don't like that. I don't like seeing Patriots and Bills drafting well. So, all right, well, that was fun. I know that it's much more abbreviated over the last few years, our draft preview, because we don't dive into it like we used to. But in terms of Eagles, Dolphins, and Cowboys, everyone needs linemen. You can never have too many linemen. So expect offense and defensive linemen to be at a premium. Both teams, all three of those teams, could also use defensive backs, especially with eyes on the future. Actually, all three teams could be in the market for linebackers. So a lot of these are overlapping. I think all three teams could use running backs. I don't know if anyone other than Dallas is going to be willing to use an early pick on one, though. If any of the three are going to pick Bijan Robinson or Jahmyr Gibbs, it's going to be the Cowboys.
Well, and at 27, like we just said, top 10. But at 27, I feel like if he's there, you saw, they have him as like the number 2 overall guy, right? So like I can't at 27. It might be the right pick. You know, imagine pairing Tony Pollard and Bijan Robinson. That would be like pairing potentially peak Zeke and Tony Pollard. You know what I mean? Like it just would be. It would just be. It would be one of those picks that I don't like as an Eagles fan because if he's there at 27, that would be a little surprising to me. But also, I don't want him going to the Cowboys because I do think he's good. It's just I don't know that I want the Eagles to get him at 10. If he were to fall that far, I'd be hoping he falls a couple more because the Eagles took him at 30. Okay, you know what I mean? Like, okay, honestly, 30 would be really nice in the sense that like you could get a top 10 talent and still lock him in for those 5. You'd have that rookie 5th-year option deal for him, and then you might let him walk. Like I don't mean that against him. It's just like the way the Eagles handle things and paying running backs in the NFL in general and all that stuff. But you could get the peak part of him paired with everyone they already have offensively. And don't get me wrong, you can never have too many offensive weapons. But like offensive skill is where I feel best about the Eagles. There may not be a ton of depth. I mean, there's maybe the most depth at running back, but they might have the lowest ceiling of all of them. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah, no, I get
they've got, in my opinion, they've got a star at quarterback. They've got stars at wide receiver. They've got a star at tight end, Goddard, and running back. They've got a lot of guys that are good, like solid, but they don't have a star at running back, in my opinion.
Yeah.
If you draft a guy at 10, he needs to be a star.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. So I think that we're going to call it for tonight just because we have been going long the last few weeks. We also are going to be back here sooner than usual. We will not have a show next Sunday, which is April 30th, last day of April next Sunday.
That's crazy,
believe it or
isn't
not.
it?
We will not have a show that night, but that's only because we're having a show on Thursday night because we're going to stream the NFL Draft live, which we've done. This will be, I think, our at least 4th straight year.
Something like that.
We might have missed a year here and there, but we've done that more often than not, I think, over the years because we love the NFL Draft. It's a lot of fun. I think my dad may or may not be here to watch with us.
I feel like it's the show in one of its truest forms because, like, that's something
it's like a stream of consciousness.
Like you and I watching it together, either literally in person or just communicating obsessively throughout the whole thing happens whether we're broadcasting it or not. We're just like, hey, why don't we broadcast this if we're actually going to do it anyway?
Right. Yeah, and that's how this show began.
Right, exactly.
But my dad may or may not be coming over to watch with us. Natalie expressed interest in joining us for a little bit, so we'll see if that works out. It's always a late night. I actually take off work the next day because I'm up till like 12:30.
So that's what I saw your dad last night, and he was saying that he was like, Joe invited me over on Thursday, and he's like, oh, it should start around this time. And he's like, but only one of us doesn't have work the next morning.
He's not wrong, because I did. It's my first PTO day of the year. I'm taking it I did it last year, and it worked out really great because I was up till like 12:30, and I didn't want to get up at 5:30 to go to work the next day.
Right.
So I was just like, I'm just going to take the day off.
Make the most of those days, right?
Right. So I took the day off. I'm actually going to be in at work Friday night, though. Not to work, but Natalie's Girl Scout troop is coming to the shop.
Oh, cool.
Just her portion, like her level of Girl Scouts.
Okay.
Like I think she's a junior. I think
that is not my area of expertise. Scouting.
I think daisies, brownies, juniors, cadets. I think are the 4 main levels. There's another, like as you get older, there's another group, but the 4 main Girl Scout levels.
Yeah.
And she's entered into the 3rd group now, and her group of like 9 or so girls are coming to the shop to work on their small meals badge.
That's awesome.
So that's happening next Friday or this coming Friday night. So I won't be at work during the day, but I'm going to take Natalie and the troop, and we're going to work on their badge that evening. So that'll be a lot of fun. But yeah, so no show next Sunday, show on Thursday. If you're watching the NFL Draft, pull our show up and hear us what we have to say about each pick, about each player, about if we think it was a reach. Do we even know who the player that they're talking about? Because there's been a few over the last few years that I'm like, I don't really even know who that person is.
We're looking at you, Raiders.
There have been a few over the last few years that I'm like, I can't. Or I can't believe that person went in the first round. Like,
And
there
this
was
isn't
people
the tackle Dallas took last year, who ended up
being pretty good.
pretty good.
Smith, right?
Right,
Another
struggled early.
Tyler Smith? Was it Tyler?
I think so.
Because they had Tyron Smith and Tyler
Struggled
Smith.
early, but came on. He
turned out
solid.
to be pretty solid. So, and it's late in the first round, so you get a
Yeah,
little bit more
yeah.
grace than the first like 10, 12 picks. You
Right.
better be nailing that. But yeah, so 8:00 the event's supposed to start. The first pick probably won't be until 8:15 or so. I'm going to start the stream at
Even
8.
though Carolina should know who they're taking.
Know who they're taking. Yeah. So we'll start at 8. My dad may be here. Natalie might be here. Justin will be here at some point, and we're just gonna, talk NFL draft. We'll have all the mics on, turn the TV on, or stream it, or however I can get to it. Probably gonna ignore Twitter and stuff because I don't want it to be ruined.
We should, if your dad's coming, you should definitely have the NCAA game pulled up just to be like, oh, we changed our mind.
Oh, we're just playing this now? Yeah. That'd be great. So, all right. But I think that's it for us. Any shout outs or anything to mention, Justin?
Real quick, my cousin, you were talking about scouting there. My cousin got his Eagle Scout ceremony was today.
That's awesome.
Austin had his birthday.
Yes.
So birthday weekend, had a fun weekend. I think that covers most of those things. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. So I definitely want to wish a happy birthday to Austin. Had a great day today.
Had a fun day today.
So,
yeah.
Awesome stuff. My dad's texting me. It's so long since we mentioned something that I don't even know what he's referring to. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to. He's gonna have to clarify for me because I missed it when it came in what we had just said. So, but yeah, I think that's it. I feel like I'm probably forgetting someone or something, but we'll be back on Thursday to talk about the actual NFL draft as it happened, which is always a lot of fun. So we hope you enjoyed episode 378 of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show. We will be back on Thursday, April 27th. I think, yeah. Thursday, April 27th, 8 o'clock.
I don't know what today is.
NFL Draft First Round Live. So for Justin, I'm Joe. Thanks for listening.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Joe Mays and J-Raff Show, brought to you by Mays Sandwich Shop. You can watch each weekly episode live on Facebook, Periscope, or YouTube. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to the show on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and Google Play. You can also rate and review us on many of these platforms as well. We'd love to hear from you. Send your emails to the Mays Sandwich Shop inbox at joemaysandjraff@gmail.com. The Joe Mays and J-Raff Show is a part of the JMNJR Radio Network, home to other productions such as the Bulldog Hour, Tangents with Friends, and Nat Chats with Dad. Until next time.